After several months of strict lockdowns and curfews, some businesses across Turkey are partially reopening. Restaurants and cafes in lower risk areas will be allowed to welcome back diners, but with tight restrictions in place to prevent overcrowding and further infections. Customers will have to provide valid test codes that will allow for quick and easy contact tracing. Venues will also be restricted to a 50% capacity. And parents can breathe a sigh of relief as students started returning to the classroom following months of online learning. Turkey's normalization plan is currently being rolled out in certain areas according to risk factors. It rolls back the strict measures put in place late last year as coronavirus cases soared with the onset of winter. The country's vaccination drive is also picking up pace, with more than 7 million having received their first dose. But as worries grow over new variants, it isn't clear if these normalization measures will continue indefinitely. So, is the country's hospitality and tourism industry also ready to face such challenges? And to answer that, joining me is Sedat Aybar. He is an economics and finance professor at Istanbul Aydin University, and also from Istanbul, Sinan Koseoglu, who is the multi-property general manager of JW Mariott and Sheraton here in Turkey. Gentlemen, welcome to Straight Talk. It's good to have you on the program. A year on from reporting the first case of the coronavirus, Turkey has already vaccinated over 7 million people, and now implementing what it calls a controlled normalization process. So, Sedat, what's your take on that? And is Turkey opening up too early?
I don't think so. We are going through such a amazing period, actually, with COVID-19. And some measures ought to be taken. And these are necessary measures in order to normalize the process. And these recently issued guidelines to counter COVID-19 are based on risk groups. So basically, there are these 4 different risk groups: low, medium, high, and very high risk groups. And these are going to be determined by the governors of 81 provinces. So basically, when we look at deeper into the guidelines and rules and regulations passed, they are also bringing about certain amount of economic results. So therefore, this normalization is it goes hand in hand with containing COVID-19. It's why it's spread, particularly with successful implementation of vaccination. And also people complying with certain measures that has been passed in the near past. So therefore, that kind of normalization is a necessary step, and that necessary step is taken by carefully measuring economic consequences of the development.
All right. So, Sinan, is Turkey's tourism sector ready, and what would it do differently than last year to draw more tourists?
Well, I can tell definitely Turkish tourism, the players are ready, sector is ready, because the last year it came sudden. If you recall last year, the importance of the tourism for the Turkey, it is big, yes. And the last year, in a sudden, this pandemic, we found ourselves in the pandemic. So that's why we had a huge experience last year, and this year with those implementations and precautions last year, what we got, definitely it will help, and we are ready.
Yeah, so the pandemic slashed Turkey's tourism revenues by 2/3 last year, Sedat. How has this impacted the country's economy in general?
That has been in several waves, actually. We have witnessed the COVID-19 relatively late when you compare to other places in the world. It was in March 11, first time we've come to realize this. And from that on, immediate response helped containing some of the negative impacts that COVID-19 would create in the sphere of economy. And different kinds of policy applications were implemented. Now, what we see at the end, in the fourth quarter of 2020, is 5.9 of economic growth, mainly contributed by industrial production. Of course, services sector has shrunk, and tourism is one of those. But within services sector, the experience has been various. Because when you get financial sector, it contributed to overall economic growth of 1.8% in 2020 by growing above 21%. So basically, the Turkey's response to COVID-19 and its economic measures and economic consequences has varied through this period, but fortunately, Turkey closed 2020 with a positive growth. That was the economic impact on.
How did Turkey manage to grow by 1.8% when many other economies shrank?
The main thing has been the implementation of these monetary and fiscal policies in a sequential manner. Initially, in order to provide some smooth operation for the corporate sector, there has been a expansion in the monetary base. Basically, credit markets has become deeper, and that contributed to the corporate sector. But as soon as corporate sector was relaxed, then some measures were taken on the fiscal front in order to support the demand side of the economy.
Yes.
So, for instance, supporting the working population by supplementing their incomes has been an important contributor to the outcome of this 1.8% positive economic growth.
So, Sinan, could you talk to us about the reservation figures from which countries you're expecting the most tourists to come from?
Basically, the last year we saw a lot CIS countries, which is the Russia and Turkish republics, and the GCC, which is the Arabic Gulf countries, and we expect that in 2021, and still we having as well, same countries, because as you see that from the US, normally the things are not getting the perfect, and similarly for the Europe as well.
Yes.
So that's why the bigger demand is from the CIS countries, I can say, and Arabic Gulf countries.
But what happens if we see, like some European countries, a dramatic rise in the number of cases? Do you have any backup plans for that?
Yeah, because normally as you see that we have got as well, there is as well demand from the Asia because they are recovering faster than the other part of the world. So we see that probably the Asia will be in the game as well. So that's why the backup plans always we have. With that.
So I said that experts warn of potential surge as cities loosen restrictions. What happens if Turkey locks down again?
I don't want to think about that scenario, actually, because it seems like we had enough with this COVID-19 and the restrictions it brought about, like many other people around the globe. If that happens, I think it'll depend on how vaccination process is being implemented successfully. And if lockdown comes about, then unfortunately there will be some choices, some hard choices will be taken and will be implemented. But I am more optimistic on that front, because I see that from May, June onwards, we are going to see much more normalization and going back to normal functioning of the economic units, particularly with small and medium-sized enterprises contributing to employment. They will be back into business as usual. And more importantly, tourism, which is one of the important sectors that earn foreign exchange for Turkey, is going to be much more normalized during summer term.
Yes.
Therefore, I don't want to imagine that negative scenario, but I'd like to think more positively about not only Turkey's future economic functioning, but also for the globe as a whole.
Sure. So, Sinan, what would it take for Turkey to reach the pre-2020 tourism rates? And what kind of challenges lie ahead? Because we know that old competitors like Greece and Spain are now joining the league once again.
Yes, and if I can give some, brief on the tourism industry of the Turkey. If you recall, 2019, the Turkey's tourism revenue rose to an all-time high, hitting $34.5 billion with the total 45 million visitors. And then what happened? The sector shrunk by approximately 65% in 2020 as the tourist numbers plummeted due to the pandemic. And the Turkish tourism revenues account up to 12% of the Turkish economy. I mean, it's a big responsibility kind of in the entire Turkish economy. And this year, basically, we are much more advanced prepared, I can say, because last year we have the unknown situations we experienced, and then we had very effective precautions by the government, the forces, I can say. And one of them, I can say, the Safe Tourism Program, for example. For the 2020, the tourism season we started, and the program that has been rapidly adopted by the key players in the industry and defines a series of measures that has been taken across the vast range of related bodies, including the food and beverage, transportation, accommodation establishments. But especially the healthcare infrastructure, are much more advanced and much more ready than them. So that's why I believe that will be help for us and to be on the forward.
All right, gentlemen, unfortunately, we'll have to leave it here. Thank you very much for joining us.